Okay, we're all set.
Okay, thank you, Diana. Um, Happy first day of summer to everyone. Um, Welcome aboard. I am Paul Goldstein. I am chair of the Waterfront Parks and Cultural Committee. And this is our June 2022 meeting. Let me start by introducing I just saw something from Andrew Zelter, but I think he's also looking for the password. Maybe you could send that to him, Diana.
Okay.
Um, and let me also again recognize Diana Sweetie here for her final go round with our committee. Thank you. We'll talk a little more on that at the end.
Paul,
Who's
it's
that?
Kathy.
Yes.
Yes, can you send me the password too? I'm typing in MCB1 and it says it's the wrong password.
Okay.
Send it to all of the
Diana,
members. Yeah.
you'll take care of
Got it.
both Kathy Gupta and Andrew Zelter.
Yeah, I'm just gonna send it to all of the members in case they need it.
Is there a sign-in sheet as well or not?
Yes, there is, although it needs to be updated and I haven't had a chance to do it yet. So sit tight on the sign-in sheet. It's coming shortly, but first let me send the new login procedure to all the members for those who need it.
Okay, so let's get going. First thing I want to do, though, is to welcome a new member of the community board and of this committee. His name is Morton Minsley, and I see he's with us tonight. Thank you, Morton. Welcome aboard, and feel free to join us. You are supposed to put up your hand if you want to speak.
Okay.
But, we'll get to that as time goes on. Welcome again. Okay, I'm going to go a little out of order because we did hear later that Ranger Jim is actually able to join us. So I'm going to call on him first to give us a report on some of the activities that the National Park Service is overseeing with summer underway. So Ranger Jim, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Yes, my name is Ranger Jim, and I'd like to say that thank you for being here. And so we can talk about the sites. One, I'd like to say I hope everyone attend our Juneteenth event. Was at the African Burial Ground this past Saturday. It went well. We had over 500 people and over 1,000 of people on Facebook and everything were watching. So it was beautiful. Thank everyone for the turnout with good weather. Also, we got coming up is July the 4th, flag raising ceremony at Castle Clinton, located in Battery Park. A lot of people don't realize Castle Clinton was the first immigration station before Ellis Island. From 1855 to 1890, over 8 million immigrants came to Castle Garden. That was Quall. And then from 1892 to 1954, they used Ellis Island. So we have a lot of history at Castle Clinton. Please come and watch the flag raising ceremony. And also they will have the cannonballs, firing the cannonball after the flag raising ceremony around Pier 1, around that area of Battery Park. Also, Governor's Island, the Castle William, and Fort J is open. Please come and visit us. It's all the way open up until October the 31st. We open on Saturday and Sunday. There are two forts over there. That's Castle William and Fort J open Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 5. Okay, also at Castle Clinton, we have Shakespeare is going on at nighttime. So the last Shakespeare show will be the 26th Sunday. Please come out and check that out. It's very nice and it's good. And Federal Hall, we open inside for the visitors from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Please come out and have a self-guided tour to look around on the first floor. All right. Thank you so much. And that's it for me. All right. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions for Ranger Jim? All right, glad you made it. And
I do have one, if I may.
oh, I didn't see you, David. Go ahead.
The blockhouse restroom at the foot of Pier 16 closes at 6. Unfortunately, it's light till almost 9 now, and there are plenty of people that would choose to use it if they could. Can any accommodation be made?
Where are you talking?
Foot of Pier 16. There's a
No,
blockhouse.
I'm a federal ranger. I deal with the National Park Service.
Okay, wrong Park Service. My mistake, sir. I do apologize.
Well, we do have on the call Jonathan Bulware and Saul Share, so maybe you guys can look into that and get back to us on the hours that stall closes.
It's a
Unless you
city
have a-
park thing. I'm sorry.
Unless anyone has a very quick answer right now. All right, let's try to get that for you, David, and we will follow up. Okay, anyone else? Okay, I don't see any other hands. Okay, thank you, Ranger Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Holland Tunnel Rotary. We are happy to have a couple of people who've been working on that project, Peter Ballman and Dasha Karapalova.
Kapalova.
Thank you. And they will update us on some of their successes in improving that open space. So I don't know who wants to go first. Peter, do you want to start us off?
Yes, I'll go. And unfortunately, Dasha is not able to join us, so it'll just be me tonight.
Okay.
So if you can bear with me for just one moment. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So in December 2020, Dasha and I presented to this committee an idea that we had for the park at the Holland Tunnel Rotary. So what I'd like to do is just run through, we were given some marching orders from CB1. So I'd like to just recap quickly the project, kind of explain where we are, the progress that we have made in that year and a half, and then we'll finish with discussion of an exciting tree planting operation that took place a few weeks ago around the Rotary. So this is the Holland Tunnel Rotary, as you all know, and our vision for this park is to access the entirety of the space, which is 4.5 acres, inside, under, and around the existing Holland Tunnel Rotary. We studied, we've been working on this for a few years and studied it initially architecturally and have started to digging deeper and deeper into it programmatically, understanding how it could tie into the local community, into the neighborhoods, and serve as a really incredible opportunity to find 4.5 acres of unused space in the middle of the city and transform that into a space for performance, education, leisure, etc. And we're proposing this is the same vision that we presented a year and a half ago when we presented to you guys. What we're presenting is one way of approaching the problem of creating a park out of this rotary. There are numerous technical challenges, so we've been digging into those over the years. But as you can see, this is the vision that we're proposing, which is to reconstruct the roadway in the geometry that it currently is, as a more sculptural piece of infrastructure. But these upturned walls that you can see here do have a function, which I will get to in a moment. You would pass under the street, from the street down a stairway, a green stairway under the roadway, and would arrive at this park in the middle. And as you can see, the stair is connected to this colonnade that passes underneath the roadway. And, you know, in the center, we have a park this is about 300 feet in diameter. It's about the size of the Grand Central Terminal. We feel that the move of going below the roadway offers several opportunities. It provides us with an opportunity to avoid fumes from traffic, which currently right now just go straight into the sidewalk. It keeps the area open to the sun at all times while protecting the area from harsh winds. It protects pedestrians and separates pedestrians and car traffic, provides a safe space for play, and it provides an opportunity to green the entirety of the 4.5 acres if you so wanted to. And again, this creates a sort of hidden garden, which is a very unique space that is about 15 feet below street level. Regardless of the actual design, the intent here is to take this large amount of space, which we all know, which is currently an obstacle between these, you know, very vibrant areas of Tribeca, Hudson Square, Soho, and Canal Street, and to take that space and use it as transform it into a connective space that can provide, you know, just connectivity and circulation. And of course, this is just an image showing how the roadway can function in bad weather. There's plenty of interior space over here on the sides. What we call the loop, the design is based on this idea of the loop, and that is derived from the existing geometry of the roadway. And sometimes that loop exists at street level, like you see over here, where you have dog parks, smaller places to eat your lunch, playgrounds, and then underground or below the level of the sidewalk, where you have about 90,000 square feet potentially of interior space that can be programmed. Then, of course, there's the Central Park, which is 300 feet in diameter, and the stairs, the monumental kind of green stairs that connect the park, the Central Park space, to the roadway, to the streets and the sidewalks. And of course, this is where you will have ramps, escalators, etc. And if we were, you know, if we were to close the park off at night, this is where that security feature would exist. So again, a lot of opportunities for these interior spaces to be lecture halls, performances, cafes. And then the central space could be green. It could be a spot for a farmer's market. It could be a spot for outdoor venues. As Ranger Jim mentioned, Shakespeare reading, you know, would be an incredible venue for something like that. Playgrounds, skating rinks, etc. This is just a long list of programs that we've explored. Obviously, how the space is used is going to be, we want it to be defined by the community and by the city. So that's why we kind of have an open door policy in terms of ideas, in terms of how this space be used. But what's important to us is that it can function both as a destination, a place for all New Yorkers to come and visit. It can also serve as a very relaxed, you know, a place on Saturday morning to drink coffee and read the paper while your kid plays in the playground, which would be a very, very unique space in New York City. From the street, again, we're, you know, preserving the entirety of open space that currently exists and providing a kind of sculpture that is a piece of infrastructure and functional public space. Since we met with you, this design has received one notable award, which is an AIA-NY Design Merit Award, which we're very proud of. So the marching orders that we received from you guys a year and a half ago, how can this park be used? How can we see it as a resiliency opportunity? You know, how can we understand what that means? How can we transform this piece of infrastructure into almost a piece of infrastructure that can help us deal with Hurricane Sandy kind of scenario or flood type scenario? That's number one. Number two is to get community feedback, specifically to get feedback from the neighbors who live directly around it, and then to continue the conversation with the port. So one thing that we've done is that we've established a nonprofit for ourselves, Rotary Park Inc., which, you know, number one, gets it away from this being Peter and Dasha's project. It's not about two architects anymore. It's about creating an organization that is dedicated to transforming the space and committed to creating a public space there, regardless of what the design might look like. And we want as many collaborators and contributors to that as we can possibly get. So just to revisit, to tell you about where we are with the Port Authority. We have had a series of Port Authority meetings with the Port Authority, and we've developed quite a dialogue with them. They were instrumental in the tree planting that we had, that took place a few weeks ago. This is a list of the people that we've met with over the course of this time, and the goal is to meet with Rick Cotton. We're not there yet, but that's what we're working toward. This is the letter that we received from the port. So we met with them about 2 weeks after we met with you. We met with them in January 21. And this is what we've affectionately been referring to as the not no letter. So Port Authority owns the site. And so we thought we would present this concept to them and see if there was interest in the park. And they were certainly within their rights to say no way. But they didn't, and they shared our enthusiasm for the project. They share the excitement about the possibility of transforming this space into a public space, into a green space. But they were clear that at this point they can't champion the design or the idea, until, because of its scale, until there is, clear funding and clear operational considerations. So these are the things, this adds to our list of marching orders that we've been pursuing. So with the Port Authority, this is sort of our strategy. We have to, getting past no has to do with logistics, figuring out how to build it without shutting down the tunnel, figuring out what the cost of it might be, making sure that the design, the future of the public space maintains a safe environment for both vehicles and for pedestrians. Thinking about maintenance and operations, and then of course inertia. It's a functioning piece of infrastructure. Why would they change it? Why would they tamper with it? And then of course there's getting to yes. So what are the opportunities here? What opportunities does the park present? One of them is to create a resilience opportunity. One of them is potentially generating revenue for the port. It is their property. Possibly the operations of the park could fund the operation of the maintenance of the Holland Tunnel, something like that. So we're obviously still, that's a long conversation that we're still working on. But the way that we're approaching it is by giving ourselves a couple of different trajectories. One of them is some proof of concept studies, and then the other is programming in partnerships and thinking through those. So the proof of concept studies, it turns out, are not too dissimilar from the things that CB1 is interested in. How do we look at it from an environmental point of view, from a resilience point of view, and of course, the more people we talk to in the area, the more time we spend in the area, the more we realize that traffic is a real concern, and we cannot address the Rotary without addressing the traffic that is related to it. So we did an existing wind study with TransSolar, which is our environmental consultant, and of understanding what are the different wind patterns and how do they affect the site based on the existing buildings. Obviously, the wind studies, this is just a snapshot. But what's important to us is how does it affect fumes as they rise, and how does it affect noise? And an interesting opportunity here. Remember, we're not dealing with a natural neutral environment. We actually are dealing with a roadway that currently exists right next to the sidewalk, and fumes and noise are sort of shared between the two. So what we see this with the section that we're proposing here is we're actually able to capture some of those fumes, redirect them, and potentially use this geometry here as a dampening mechanism or a reflecting mechanism to contain some of the sound and create a more humane environment. So that's something that we're continuing to develop with our engineers. And then, as I said, traffic. We have a lot of traffic studies that we want to embark on to help understand, how does the Rotary relate to Freeman Plaza, and how can we? And we've already been speaking with Port Authority and with many neighbors about this subject. As soon as we planted trees, the next conversation was, okay, now how can we solve the traffic? So we're working on that. The same week that we met with the port, we had a resilience call with many of our engineers. Thomas O'Rourke is a professor emeritus at Cornell, which is where Dasha and I were teaching at the time. He specializes in infrastructure and natural disasters and was instrumental in the rehabilitation of the L train. He's been a huge help. Scott Lomax and Amy McDonald are structural and environment and sustainability engineers with Thornton Tomasetti. George Leventis and Duke Cleghorn, civil engineers with Langen Engineering, and Jeremy Wormfeld and Carl Persack from Persack and Wormfeld, who are naval engineers. So we all sat around the table and we kicked around a lot of big ideas, small ideas, and we sort of have the on one end of the spectrum, at the very least, we can achieve net zero with the park. There's a geothermal opportunity because of because we're going lower. We can of course maximize the green space, which will minimize minimize the heat island effect and minimize the fume effect. The maximum, we talked about the possibility of using groundwater to create a kind of water park, to create a storm resiliency opportunity where the site can actually help alleviate the neighborhood if there's any floodwater on the ground. So it could serve as a drain, it could serve as a storage capacity so that's for flood relief. Also big ideas such as how do we, traffic is a constant in there. How do we transmit that into energy? And of course, how do we relieve ourselves from the traffic? This is the natural environment where the site sits. It currently sits on a peninsula. So we achieve that it's naturally flood resistant. So how do we take that and turn that into an asset for the community? This is a drawing showing it working as a kind of piece of infrastructure that deals in water in a variety of different ways. And then of course, ultimately, bottom line, it can be just an incredibly, rich, beautiful green park. Okay, outreach. So we started RotaryParkNYC.org. If you haven't been there, check it out. This is our homepage, and you can learn all about the design and all the different aspects of it and the thought process. You can learn about the history of the site. There's many different, very interesting layers of the history of this particular spot in Manhattan. Different ideas of programming, the different people involved, but most importantly, you can reach the page where you can let us know what you think about the park. And many people have done that. We've received a lot of really great feedback. Some people who are just, they love the idea. Some people who are critical of the idea. People have ideas of how we can program it. Outdoor film venue, skating park, et cetera, restaurants. So there's been a lot of encouraging stuff, which we're very excited about and eager to continue to incorporate that into our visioning of the project. We've had 1,500 visitors in 9 months, so we're pretty psyched about that. And hope it gets more. We've also created this newsletter, which entitled In the Loop. We sent out our first newsletter about the tree planting that took place on June 4th. And the idea here is just to keep people posted on everything that we're doing. So in December of 2021, we were invited by Carrie Mae Weems, artist, to participate in her show, The Shape of Things, at the Park Avenue Armory. She had a weekend long convening of multiple artists and a couple of architects. We were extremely honored to be a part of this. And what she asked us to do was to present the park from the standpoint of social justice, from the concept of open space and what it means in the city. And we have been working on a series of drawings showing the way that infrastructure actually can occupy space in a city that, if used properly, can actually resist some of the forces of real estate development that are kind of rampant throughout the city. So how do you use a park to tell a different kind of story, not just to serve real estate, but to engage with it, and to preserve a healthy environment for the people who actually live in these areas. So that goes part and parcel with telling the story of the area. This is the site during the Revolutionary War. These are just some images that we presented as we went along. Everyone's probably familiar with this amazing drawing. This is a reminder of the Lower Manhattan Expressway, so we can be grateful of the Rotary because it could have been a lot worse. But we then did a series of drawings to start understanding, well, how can the Rotary how can this is the Rotary right here? How can the Rotary now serve? How can we tell a story that is both about cultural history, ecological history, urban history, um, and also create a kind of reveal a fabric, use the park to reveal a sort of cultural fabric that exists at this site. So that's what we were the path that we were on when we presented at the Armory, and that of course we are still on. So in terms of our partnerships, this is our board right now. It's Dasha, myself, and then Sam Schaefer, who is the CEO of Center for Employment Opportunities, which is an incredible company based in Lower Manhattan. But over the past year, we've formed some other partnerships. Friends of St. John's Park is a neighborhood group based on Lake Street that they're the ones who reached out to us about planting trees. So they've become a big supporter. New York Academy of Art, they reached out to us. They're interested in participating with us with the site as an art venue. New York Parks Tree Time, we planted trees now at the Rotary, so now there's no stopping us. They're going to keep helping us as kind of consultants, tree species, etc. Playground NYC, they've got a very successful playground on Governor's Island. They came on board as part of a concept. Kind of a concept partner to help us figure out how can we have innovative, exciting play spaces in the Rotary, and also how can we do that in the short term, not just in the future when this project is, if it's realized. Spring Studios, who you all know, is a huge tenant right on Varick Street. They're extremely enthusiastic about this project, and they want to help promote it. They're helping us do studies of what would it look like if a Tribeca Film Festival were to participate in some of these, to use the space, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, Tribeca Community School, the first group to reach out to us. They've been incredibly supportive, but we also have been working with their students to help design playgrounds for the space, tree guards for the new trees that were planted, and of course, you'll see some photographs. They were instrumental in the planting of these trees. Now, these are groups that we've reached out to, and we have ongoing conversations with all of these groups, and we would love, yourselves are included, and we would love for all of these people to eventually become our partners. Each one of them we see as having a kind of area of expertise which we need in our team. Over here, this is just a group of organizations in the city that we want to reach out to. We're looking for a way to have a conversation and to bring them into the fold and to ultimately gain their support. And then down here is a group of people, of organizations who we could see as potential sponsors for some portion of the project, could help us kind of get this off the ground. Of course, we're still each of them for their own reasons, but we have not contacted any of them yet. Which leads us to where we are organizationally. But we are here at point number one, getting to 200K. So we're trying to get up to 200K so that we can do our proof of concept studies, and we're doing that through hoping to do that through private foundations, through grants, fundraisers, and that's what's going to allow us to do our technical proof of concept, but also our financial proof of concept to figure out how we can figure out a way to make this park get funded. Number two is getting up to 500K so that we can start staffing our nonprofit, hiring some people, and doing some serious fundraising. And then eventually, number three is building the construction budget, which is a long ways off, but that would include partnerships with numerous entities, the city and Port Authority. So that is Rotary Park. So I want to tell you about our first step, our first step with putting a shovel in the ground. So we were contacted middle of last year by a gentleman named Jared Shear, who lives on Lake Street, and he's started an organization called Friends of St. John's Park. Organization called Friends of St. John's Park. And these are the people who ultimately would contribute. But Jared reached out to us, and he said that during the course of the pandemic, several trees had blown down or fallen down or been cut down, had been removed for one reason or another, and that he was having a hard time navigating the system with the Parks Department to get these trees planted. So he reached out to us because he read an article in Tribeca Citizen And we spoke to our landscape architect, Star Whitehouse, and they helped put us in touch with the Parks Department. And then we reached out to our connections at the port, and everybody kind of came together and said, okay, let's plant these trees. Initially, there were 11 trees. This got whittled down to 9 trees for a few technical reasons. Then we visited the site and we prepared this. This report to identify the exact trees, and then to write a report to document each tree and explain what the situation was. In some cases, these tree guards were empty and the trees were just completely missing. In some cases, there were stumps that had been cut down. As it turns out, most of the sites of the trees that were not empty, or sorry, that were just empty, were not Port Authority property, but the ones with the stumps were Port Authority property. So that entered a new layer, a new texture to the conversation. So we were able to, we focused on planting these trees, the ones that we had immediate access to, and that's what we did on the 4th of June. And then these trees are following this next week. That was just some paperwork between Parks and Port Authority, which we were able to work out. And Port Authority actually donated the money to remove these stumps, so that was great. And then along the way, as Jared was getting funding from people in the buildings around the Rotary. And at some point, someone at 155 Hudson asked if it would be possible to plant some trees in this area, right in front of their building. So we took that on, found out that it's not possible to put trees there because there are vaults in the sidewalk. But we're working with Tree Time to find a place to plant those 3 remaining trees. As for the day itself, June 4th, it was absolutely amazing. We had about 50 volunteers that signed up, through Jared's organization, through Tribeca Community School, and also through our newsletter. A lot of these kids are they're students at Tribeca Community School. They're also kids of the residents. A couple of guys from Port Authority came and brought their kids. So this is James Cashel from Tree Time instructing everyone on the proper technique for planting a tree. So everyone was very excited. As you can see, these are one tree on Late, and we had 3 trees on Varick. This is actually Ricky Ramirez, the general manager of the Holland Tunnel for Port Authority, instructing a handful of kids on how to properly plant a crepe myrtle. So this is a pretty awesome day. This is, one of the trees on Varick. You can see what a huge difference one small tree costs, or what it costs. Actually, very inexpensive, but it makes a huge difference, as you can see. These are a couple of articles that were written by the Citizen and by the Trib, which were amazing. Pam and Carl both came to the planting, and we had some amazing conversations with them. And we also created these flyers to hand out, and this is our sign-in sheet. We created some tote bags, which you guys might see floating around the neighborhood. It's interesting about this. The back of the tote bags, there's 200 trees, and you can see there's 12 trees colored in. There were the 9 trees on Late and Varick, and then the 3 trees on Hudson, which we are currently trying to place, which are funded, but we're trying to place. When the original St. John's Park was raised for Cornelius Vanderbilt's freight depot to be built, he eliminated the park, and based on our research, about 200 trees were killed. So what we're taking it upon ourselves is to replant those trees for Rotary Park to kind of participate and help guide the replanting of those trees to give those trees back. And whether that's in Tribeca, whether that's elsewhere in Lower Manhattan, whether that's elsewhere in the 5 boroughs, we're still working that out. How it gets funded, of course, we're still working it out. But we believe that our team with ourselves and with Tree Time, and maybe also the Port Authority, because they are in a lot of different areas and always are in need of trees. Maybe we can find a way to plant these 200 trees. And then in terms of our next step, we have the 200 trees, the feasibility studies, which I've already mentioned, and then art in the Rotary. So as you all know, the Rotary has hosted a couple of large pieces of art. We have started conversations with the port about the potential of bringing back some new art, some more art, and conversations with a couple of artists about what they might do in that site. So We think that having a program to have art exhibited in the middle of the space, also possibly around the perimeter of the space, have a rotating for exhibit for local New York artists would be awesome. So we're working on that. And that's it. Thank you very much.
That was great, Peter. Amazing how much work you've put into this and how effective you and your organization have been. You're off to an amazing start, and I give you high praise for all the work you've put in and for all the ideas that you have floating around. Quick question, was that tilted arc in that last
I believe that Tilted Arc was installed in Federal Plaza.
yeah.
And so this is a different one.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe this one was specifically called Rotary Arc and was made for the space.
Okay, maybe it was the same artist. Okay,
Definitely the same artist. It's Sarah.
Richard Serra.
Yeah, Richard Sarah.
Okay, very good. Let me move along. I see several members want to respond and perhaps ask questions.
Sure.
Let's start with Elizabeth Lewinson. Elizabeth,
Can hear
you're
you.
muted.
Sorry about that. So I wanted to say thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation. Your planning and your vision is tremendous, I think. I've long been interested in what you're doing here at the Rotary because I actually lived at 145 Hudson right there for almost a decade, I think. I mean, we no longer live there. We moved about 2 years ago, but I'm very familiar with this area. And I think I had mentioned it to you last time when you came to present to us. So I know the area well, and I have a couple questions for you. First off, so I actually lived there when I had very young kids. I mean, my kids are still young, but as a parent, my question for you is how do you envision sort of the access to the space from the street? It is an area where people are coming right out of the Holland Tunnel. They don't tend to slow down. Actually, they tend to speed up right when they get out of the Holland Tunnel right there, like literally.
Right.
And maybe they're not speeding, but they tend to speed up and cars don't anticipate slowing down. And I don't know where you intend the access point to be. How are families, people in general, going to get from the sidewalk over to that area of land? And, as a parent, I've always thought, safety. I always love the idea of doing something in that space because it's 4.5 acres of open land, but I always thought there could be a safety issue here, getting people into that space. So that's the first question I have. The second question I have is about funding. You had mentioned that so this area is owned by the Port Authority, and you had mentioned that the Port Authority essentially told you pretty early on that there's no funding. They have no funding for this area. Do you envision any government funding, or is this all purely private funds?
So I think it's going to be a mix. I mean, we think it's going to be a mixture. And we also
A mixture what? I'm
envision,
sorry.
we
Say that
think it's
again.
going to be a mixture of the. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. Are you addressing the funds question, the funding question?
Yes, I am
Okay.
addressing the funds. It's the easy one. We see it as being buckets. So there's the infrastructure bucket, there's a public space bucket, there's the cultural programming, cultural institution kind of bucket, the way that we're envisioning it. And we think all of those could be different funding sources. I think that there's definitely going to be, we certainly see this as being city funded to a certain extent, and partially in some of those. And we think
But will they fund it? It's not their property.
right. No, I don't know. I mean, we have to, this is something that we have to work through for sure. And we actually have we're setting up a meeting with Councilmember Marte over the next couple of weeks, and we're definitely going to put that question on the table. What does it look like? How would the city approach this? Because it most certainly would be an asset for the city. And I think that if it's entirely up to the Port Authority, then their option is just to not do it because there's no incentive. So it's striking that balance, that walking that line is really where we've been for the last couple of years, and trying to get deeper and deeper without ruffling feathers and while kind of keeping the vision. So we're still trying to understand that. very much an ongoing thing. In terms of safety, so an important thing about our product, what you're describing is 100% accurate. I mean, you have a center and periphery problem, and there's a few different ways of address with a very dangerous roadway in between center and periphery, right? But that's why the design that we are proposing, which is just one of many possibilities, we think is interesting, because by going below the level of the roadway, your access points are mid-block, right? So your access points are not in the corners, they're mid-block. So you're in between the ramps. So if people were to gather there, you're essentially gathering nowhere near where the traffic's coming out. If you want to, take a look
What
at
do you
it.
mean? Yeah, what do you mean by mid-block?
Okay, so
You want to put up a photo of that, or
yeah.
what you're talking about? Okay.
Okay. Mm. So this is mid-block. This is where you're talking about where the cars are coming out, right? This is
Yeah.
Hudson Street. This is Hudson right here.
Uh,
So what we're doing is that we're
where,
creating
where,
access points.
sorry, where's Hudson?
Hudson is here.
Right. Okay. Right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The park in the middle is about 15 to 18 feet below street level. So when your entrance to the park is down a series of stairs that take you underneath the roadway.
Oh, so you're envisioning stairs underneath the roadway?
Not the stairs themselves begin at the level of the sidewalk. Mostly the stairs are exposed to the sky, and then it's under the roadway is the colonnade. That
So it's a
supports the
tunnel,
stairs.
essentially. You're envisioning a tunnel underground to get people from the roadway to. It's a tunnel.
It's not a tunnel. I mean, a tunnel I think probably has negative connotations.
Well, yeah, no, but it's underground, essentially. The access is underground, so people will not have to cross the street
Correct.
at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, and is that incredibly expensive to do? I mean, I don't know.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure. I mean,
and is there only one access point?
no,
Is it
there's
only
access
that?
points on every block. So
Got it.
instead of now having to walk around the site, you're able, regardless of where you are, you're able to walk down and using the site to get across it. That is why the site becomes a place of connectivity.
Right. I mean, I get that makes sense. I just don't, you need to include that in part of your funding plan or whatever it is, because I imagine that's very expensive to do it that way. But I'm just putting
Absolutely.
it out there. I mean, the entire thing is going to be expensive, and that's just going to add to the expenses. But no, that is a smart plan to do it underground like that.
Well,
Yeah.
it's definitely a give and take, and the question that is always going to be, is there value? It's definitely a cost, but is the value worth it? And we think that the way that we're seeing it right now, and again, this is not me selling a design. This
Right.
design is us solving the problem that you've just brought up. It's one way of
Right.
solving it. There are certainly other ways of solving it. But the reason that we presented this project over the last couple of years to many architects, many very notable architects, and every one of them has come up with a different idea of how to solve that problem,
Yeah.
which is awesome. And the question ultimately will be, what's the most cost effective? What's going to have the most payoff in terms of beauty, in terms of relief, in terms of use, what's in
Yeah.
terms of flexibility? And I think that's definitely not a problem that's not, Dasha and I cannot give you guys, anybody, that answer, right? That's something for the community to decide and for all the different stakeholders to decide.
All right. And just a suggestion, I mean, in terms of funding, yes, try to go the city route and, meet with Marte and everything, but also try to go state and maybe even federal, because I mean, if it is Port Authority, you might have more success going with the state.
Yeah.
I'm just putting that out there. I mean, it could be very expensive, like the capital, the capital funds are going to be high. And so it's going to cost a lot. I mean, and my understanding, as you probably know, is that the maintenance and operation funds, that's going to be a lot of what the friends groups and maybe private funders are going to be able to raise. But the capital funds are going to be really really difficult. And oftentimes that's government funding. It could be like hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know the size of this type of park, but you may not have success with the city. And try going to New York State and even New Jersey State.
Yeah,
You know?
that's definitely the plan.
Yeah. Okay. Good luck. Well, thank you for that. It's really exciting, this whole
Thank
entire
you.
process.
Okay, let's keep going. We have, in this order, still coming up, Alice, Andrew, and Wendy.
Hi, Peter. I'm Alice Blank. I remember your coming a while back, and I was delighted when I saw the article, The Citizen and the Trib, and to get you back today. It's an extraordinary project, and it's really exciting to see that you were able to move forward on the trees. And a huge thank you from me personally, who lives very nearby, and
Nice.
on behalf of the community. It's really an extraordinary project. And I think Elizabeth brought up some key issues. I'm really so excited that I'm very curious as to how you really will move forward. And I know that we brought up, as you, I'm glad, highlighted the resiliency aspect of this. And it seems like the extraordinary opportunity to, in fact, tap into federal funding through green infrastructure. And I'm wondering, at what point will you start to engage the community and the environmentalist crowd in those kinds of alternatives? This beautiful plan you have, sort of now what happens next to actually, will there be charrettes? Will there be, what do you envision as the sort of next steps to kind of put forth other ideas, massaging this into other ways to, really capitalize on the green infrastructure aspects and all the other aspects that would be important in the design?
Yeah, it's a great question. The first thing that we, as soon as we did the trees, everybody was so excited, and we were like, okay, let's everybody stay around, let's get around a table and start throwing out ideas. Of course that didn't happen, but we're not sure yet. I think that's a really good question. How do we get? And I mean, I think that's something that we would also maybe ask you, for recommendations as to how we would do that. We would love, like, our thinking was that the website would be a forum. Again, we've had a lot of people who have said, "Oh, it's a great idea. We love it. How can we support?" And we say, "Thank you very much." We've also had people say, "You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. The way that you're representing it's wrong. Like, you should. What about this? What about that?" And we always take a lot of time to, really give thoughtful response to those, because we not a single one of them has been something that we haven't already thought of, or that hasn't come up at some point, and we never get any response back from that. So we want to have a dialogue, and how to go about achieving that in an organic, real way, we don't really know, but we're hoping for the best. Our first step is the website, and again, I think that we want to, maybe we'll put together in like an open, an open kind of table kind of situation where people can kind of participate just like this and start talking about it, and giving us some ideas. So how to do that, I'm not sure, but we definitely are open to suggestions. In terms of federal funding for resilience, I think that's 100%. I think that this is an interesting. There's a lot of focus right now, especially in Washington, but also in the architecture world, about what is green infrastructure, what is infrastructure for the future going to look like, how can we learn from our mistakes, which is a big part of it, and we think that this is a really interesting project because it's rehabilitation. How interested are people in rehabilitation of an area? And for the money that is spent here, which will be, this is not a small project. So this is not a small park. This is a large park, and a lot of money will be spent here if this project is done, whether it's our design or another. But it serves to, it kind of, from the point of view of infrastructure, it's worth it, and to show how infrastructure can actually be a binding agent as opposed to a divisive agent, is something that cities around the world have to figure out. And I think that this is, and that's not a, I don't see that as we don't see that as a top down kind of decision. It's just it's designers, thinkers throwing out ideas and getting the different people around the table to chime in. And the key with that is coming up with the ideas, but also having people around the table, so that's what that's the next horizon for us.
Well, it sounds very exciting, and of course, the community board, I'm sure, will be thrilled to assist here in any way that we can. And I guess I would just ask that on behalf of this community that you lead with resiliency. I mean, I think you have an incredible opportunity here in a critically low-lying area that is in desperate need of that sort of storm tank idea that we talked about. I
Right.
mean, and who knows if it's even possible, but I think it would be really, really interesting to have the science aspect of this beyond the park really fleshed out as to what really is feasible here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the next step, but I would love, I would love to encourage that if
Well,
possible.
we're completely on board and we agree. And the group of people that I shared with our team, our resiliency, that were on our like resiliency call, that is a very strong group right there. And Langen, because of their extremely specific knowledge of New York City subterranean situation, and Thornton Tomasetti, it's a great group that we have. What we need
And
to
Laura Starr, our own board member, Starr Whitehouse. That's a
absolutely,
brilliant
and she's
ad.
a rock star.
Okay, so I just want to ask one last question. I don't want to hold everybody here, but just quickly, so it's going from being called St. John's Park, which your friends group is, to Rotary Park. Is that right? Is that sort of
Yeah.
everyone's going to, that's the new
Well,
name?
Friends of St. John's Park actually arose without our involvement. That's the group that Jared Shear began on Late Street, of a group of residents who wanted the trees to get replanted. We originally were referring to the project as St. John's Park. We just decided that we made a decision to break with that, to have a project that was unique, that referred to a specific place, but that was not entirely entrenched in the original name of the site, in the patriarchy, the naming of the site, the religious connotations of the naming of the site, and we also wanted a site, a name of the site that that spoke to the actual piece of infrastructure, and to the actual site itself. So I think that throughout the history that we were sort of uncovering, the different layers that we were uncovering, there's St. John's Park it was one moment in time in the history of the site, and so we thought it would be cool to rechristen the project. Obviously, it's still called St. John's Park and will continue to be called St. John's Park, but our approach to it, our effort right now, we wanted to give it a special name, and so we named it Rotary Park.
Well, as long as it's clear and it stays consistent and your friends group is aligned to it, whatever its name is, it's great. But I think having two names might be a little tricky. Anyway, I really look forward to the future on this. And again, many, many thanks. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Alice. Andrew, you're up.
So I'll echo other folks' comments about the great work and vision that you're putting forward. And I'm probably going to ask you to briefly repeat some of what was in your presentation. So you've already taken tangible steps to beautify the space with the planting of trees. Can you comment on one or two other things, tangible things that you think you can do while this whole vision again is taking shape and coming together?
Well, yeah, we definitely want to plant more trees.
Mhm.
Definitely. But for us, the art piece of it is very tangible. We would love to install, again, we want to do art in the middle, which is sort of inaccessible, but also the possibility of art around the perimeter, which is accessible, which could be benches, street furniture, playgrounds, etc. And that's the project that we've been developing with Tribeca Community School. And we think that that's very doable, and important in order to change people's perception of the site. What we've noticed over the past 3 years that we've been working on this is that people's perceptions have slowly, we've annoyed people enough that their perception is finally, that people are more readily able to see the potential of this as being something other than a giant eyesore and a giant obstacle. Right now it is a piece of infrastructure, and we want to soften its edges so that people can start to understand that it has so much potential to be something more than that. And doing that at the perimeter and in the middle creates this question about like, why can't we get in there? You know, which that creates part of that dialogue. We also have been speaking with a photographer by the name of Iwan Bond, who's a friend, and he's going to do a series of photographs of the Rotary for us. And we talked about specifically that idea of, you know, how do you use a set of photographs to change the public's perception of a piece of infrastructure or something that they've walked by and hated, you know, for 20, 30 years, you know? So, that's definitely going to be an interesting. That's, you know, obviously we're taking a cue from the High Line on that one.
Right.
So those are two things that we think are very much on our plate that we're working on, that we're pushing right now. And then the traffic, you know, traffic is a conversation we've already been pulled into, you know. And I'm sure that there are a lot of conversations about different ideas about traffic in the area that we want to participate in, or at least if we're not traffic consultants, obviously we're architects, but we would like to understand some of the issues that are being discussed so that we can help integrate that into the design eventually.
Got it. Thank you for that. And then I guess one quick comment. Paul, I don't know if you recall when this was first presented, I had asked how we as the committee can get more involved and engaged in helping to advance this. And tying back to Alice's question of public engagement, I don't know if Peter and team think that they're there yet, but to the extent something like a public forum or public charrettes, maybe that's something we can help to pull together for Paul and team to execute.
Okay, Peter. Yeah, let us know when you're ready to possibly do something like that. We could obviously try to let people know who we're in contact with, but you know, let us know. That sounds like a good idea, Andrew.
Okay. Yeah, I think that we're definitely ready for that. And we would love to do that. We'll need a little bit of time to organize to sort of figure out how we want to approach it, but I will definitely be in touch about that. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll look forward to that. Okay, let's keep going. Wendy, you're next.
Thanks, and thanks, Peter. I've got a simple question and then kind of a couple ideas that come to mind. The first one is just how are you going to keep the trees watered? I'm a huge gardener myself, and you know, you have to water sometimes twice a day, especially new trees. Do you have a team of volunteers doing that?
The trees that we just planted?
Yes.
We do. We have a team of volunteers that are of residents that are working that out. And you know, that has to do with the if you go a certain route of having parks plant your tree for you, and which all New Yorkers can do, you know, you can, parks will plant a tree anywhere you want it, and then it will be guaranteed, you know, they'll basically take care of it for 2 years. That costs a certain amount of money. What we did with the trees on Lake Street, we got a much more streamlined. We were able, because we were getting a group of them, we were able to do it for much cheaper. But the drawbacks
You have to water
are,
the trees.
let's say the opportunities for community activism are A, us planting the trees, and B, watering the trees. So Jared is leading the charge on that. And
It's a big
sure
job. I mean, for anybody who doesn't know about that, that's a big job. You know, new trees need water twice a day when it's super hot. So I give you hats off just for coordinating that. So that's a monumental task in itself. The other thing that immediately came to mind was I read today in the New York Times that there's a woman working for the feds right now doing carbon capture. Her name is Jennifer Wilcock, and it's all this. She is, you know, I would tell you to look in the environment and energy section of B4. She's a federal government employee who is in charge of trying to do carbon capture. And in there, it's written about, you know, cement and lots of other things. I mean, I think your project could be something that is like a test case, which of course then takes me to Governor's Island, as you know, is looking for a new environmental cutting edge center that they want to put out there. It's not named yet, but that's coming. And then, of course, the other random thought that came to mind was to talk to Rosa Chang, who I'm sure she has her hand up, because she's doing wonderful work with the Brooklyn Bridge Park visioning work. And it would be nice to actually have a holistic approach between Governor's Island, Brooklyn Bridge, and what you're doing. And because all of these things, to Alice's point, go into resiliency. And we had a presentation several years ago with a team from the Netherlands, and I'm not sure which committee meeting I saw it at, but they had these sunken basketball courts, and which acted like water capture, but they were playgrounds the rest of the year. And I'm sure you've seen all that kind of stuff, but that's immediately the type of things that you could build these basketball courts with this zero carbon technology, and they need proof of concept. So I think the federal government, and this woman who's in the New York Times today, Jennifer Wilcock, these are some really interesting things out there. So and I don't know how CB1 can help you, but I would love to be annoying and call whoever we needed to call if you had something that after we do what does the neighborhood really want, because I agree this could be amazing, and it could be something that leads the world. And thank you for pulling together the incredible talent that you have. That list that you've put up there is it's really hats off to you. You're doing it in the right way, so thank you.
Cool, thank you. And just I would just say that relates back to the previous question, which is, how do we lead with resiliency? Well, we do have some opportunities for some big ideas, like you just mentioned. That park in the Netherlands is one of the things that we're constantly studying. Persak and Wormfeld, the naval architects that we work with, they're always sending us ideas, but we do need funding in order for me to, I can only squeeze, so much blood out.
Right, you got to make a living. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have two last speakers. Let's try to see if we can wrap this item up in the next 10 minutes or so. Rosa Chang.
Hi, can you see me? Okay,
Yes.
great. Yeah, I can see and hear myself. Awesome. Hi, Peter. So nice to meet you. I think I was there when you first presented, but I probably refused to turn my video on at that time. So this is what I look like. Hello. As Wendy mentioned, if I take my CB1 hat off, we started a nonprofit to actually build a park underneath the Brooklyn Bridge, but on the Manhattan side. And I think that we have a lot of intersections of what we're both trying to accomplish, and different routes of getting there. And so I'm going to be super quick, Paul. Diana, if you could connect Peter and I up after the meeting, then we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things, because we think that parks in our community are desperately needed and important, and everything that we can do to get more parks in our community is a positive and a plus. So I would love us to just sort of brainstorm, share, where we are, connections, everything, and get both of these and maybe hopefully even more built for our community. So I think that would be
Absolutely.
awesome.
That sounds great. I look forward to that.
So Diana's going to connect us, I think. And so I'm done. That was 1 minute.
Great. I would just add that the Brooklyn Bridge is an example of parkland underneath ramps. So that's another thing that you guys would have in common too.
Yes, one of the things I'm going to do is introduce them to the Public Space Alliance from the Friends of the High Line, because I think you absolutely qualify as an infrastructural park, and they have been an absolutely essential resource for us to figure things out.
Excellent.
So you should definitely be talking to them.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. And Joe Lerner, you're up next and last.
Fast question. You talked about stairways to the park. What about access for the handicap?
Well, all of those stairways, they're we call them stairways, but they're very grand. They're almost a block wide, and there's a lot of space for ramps, and there's plenty of space for elevators as well. So that's the approach there.
So you're talking about ramps because they're the cheapest rather than elevators, which is okay. Is that
No,
right?
ramps and elevators, both of them.
Good luck.
Is that it, Joe?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Joe, and thank you, Peter.
All right. Thank you all so much for having me again.
Again, I'm sure to be continued, and we look forward to it.
All right. Great. Thank you very much.
And you have a great night.
All right.
Okay, thank you, committee. Let's move on. Next item is another interesting item. The tall ship Denmark is planning to dock at the, what is it, the north end of Pier 17 in September. And we have a variety of people. I'm not sure exactly who they are from Howard Hughes is involved in this. I know a group called Visit Denmark is involved, and our old friend Tom Burton from Manhattan by Sail. So I'm not entirely sure who of this group, or maybe someone from Ghetto and DeMilli also might want to introduce it. So you tell me who's up, who I should introduce, or who's ready to go on this item.
I'll take this one, Paul, and kick it off. My name is Ellie Chamberlain. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Howard Hughes, overseeing the Seaport. Thanks, everyone, for your time this evening. Excited to be sharing this update with you. So, as you all may know, one of our many goals at the Seaport is really to connect the community to the waterfront and to honor the neighborhood's maritime history. We work with many partners to do that, but most especially the South Street Seaport Museum, as you mentioned, which is truly the cultural heart of the Seaport. So I'm actually going to pass it off to Jonathan, who's here today to share some more news about the Denmark coming in September, and then he'll introduce our friends from Visit Denmark. So Jonathan, I'll give it to you.
Thanks. Thanks, Ellie. Paul, committee, nice to see you all virtually. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Jonathan Bulware. I'm the president of South Street Seaport Museum. And I'm just going to take a minute and just to put this visit in context. So the tall ship Denmark is a sail training vessel, a big square rig ship, not unlike our Waver Tree, that is flagged in the nation of Denmark. And she represents more in this visit than merely herself, in fact. So you're going to hear about this particular visit, but for you, members of the community board, I want to put this into the context of the Seaport generally over time. We've been hosting vessels like this at Piers 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 over the past 55 years. And so there's, the Coast Guard Bark Eagle, or the ship Denmark, or the Italian ship Amerigo Vespucci, and the list goes on, right? These are vessels that have, they exist all over the world. They are national vessels, they are naval vessels, they're education vessels. And in the last 10, 15 years, it's been difficult to host those vessels in the Seaport. And so really the headline for me in this is that we're back, right? Thanks to some infrastructure improvements that Howard Hughes have done on the north side of 17, I'm sure not insignificant in their cost. Thanks to a partnership that will allow us to do these kinds of things, the museum is really pleased to be able to welcome Denmark in this particular instance, and I'll touch on that in a second, but really to open the door to us welcoming these kinds of ships ongoingly, to return to the work that we used to do, which, by the way, is resonant of our mission, right? Our mission as a museum is to illuminate New York's connections with the rest of the world. These ships are a very practical way that we can do that. They're bringing young people into the Seaport. These people may be maritime or naval cadets. They may be students in other types of programming. They could be scientists. The fact that we are partnering with this now, with Howard Hughes on their new infrastructure means that we can bring all of these vessels in, which means programming opportunities, means connections with the UN, it means connections with other nations, and it puts the Seaport specifically in New York generally in connection with the rest of the world in ways that it hasn't been recently. And that goes right to the DNA of New York City itself, which goes right to the mission of the museum. So I'm really, really pleased that we're doing this. I will say, just in my last thing before I make an introduction, is that we actually have photographs of Denmark, this very same ship I'm pretty sure it was 1970, tied up on the north side of Pier 16 with all of her sails set. I'll try to find this image and circulate it to the community board because I think it's an evocative one. You've got the FDR in the foreground, Schermerhorn Row on the right, and then Denmark just on the other side, on the north side of Pier 16, with all of her sails set and drying. And why? Because in 1970 those sails were made of flax. Now Denmark's sails are probably made from a petrochemical derivative, some sort of plastic, which is what we all do now. But it's a moment in time. This is hardly Denmark's first visit here. She was here in the 70s. She was here before that, and she's been here since. I'm really, really pleased to welcome her back. It's one of many ways in which the museum is able to stride forward programmatically, and we're doing this in partnership with our neighbors. Really pleased to do that. And it also happens to coincide with the United Nations Year of the Ocean, which is happening. The convening the General Assembly will be right around that same time. So I'm actually going to turn this actually back over to Ellie to make the introduction to the folks from Denmark. And I really thank you all for your time and look forward to hosting you, whether it's in Denmark or some of the other museums, other programming. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. So I'm going to hand it over to Meta, who is here representing the Denmark. She has a short presentation to share to give a little bit more background.
Yes, hello everybody, and thank you for having me. I will just try to share my screen. And let me know if you cannot see what I'm showing. Yes, so here you go. This is Denmark, their beautiful sail ship. I'll be talking a bit.
I don't think it's appearing yet.
Oh, okay. I'll wait a bit. Let me know when you can see. Let me just try again. Share.
There we go.
You can see it
Okay.
now?
You're in
Good.
business. Yes.
Sorry. Okay. There we go. So here it is. So this is the beautiful Denmark that is coming to the seaport. Sorry, I have to go from this beautiful ship to my face, but I just wanted to say that my name is Mette Hansen, and I work with Visit Denmark, which is the National Tourism Board, and we're based here in New York. And this is all happening in collaboration with, so between Visit Denmark and MARTEC, which is the Maritime and Polytechnic College of Denmark, and of course with the Seaport and the Seaport Museum. So this is a really exciting visit that's coming to the Seaport. It's the training ship Denmark. It'll be docked during Climate Week. It will arrive on the 16th of September and depart on the 25th. And the purpose of it coming is to create a platform to inspire and invite dialogue on issues of innovative and sustainable solutions. And during the ship's time at the seaport, it will also be some open events for locals to come on board the ship. And just to talk a little bit more into the history, we already talked a little bit about it, but the ship actually has a really proud history with the US. The ship was launched in 1933, and it was in and has visited, as we said, on many occasions, but its longest visit was during World War II, where the ship was actually came over for the World Exhibit in New York, but stayed because the World War II broke out. And then it sailed under the Stars and Stripes and trained around 2,500 naval officer cadets. On the bottom side of the screen, you see kind of the journey that the ship will be on this time. They will leave on the 21st of July from Denmark, and then they'll sail to Spain, sail over to Bermuda. Then they'll be staying in Baltimore for a bit before coming to New York, and then sailing back to Europe, to Portugal. So it's quite a long journey these 80 cadets who are on board are on. And we will be present during New York Climate Week because New York City and Denmark together are both known as frontrunners in the green transition. And I have this map in the background of Denmark. Denmark is the little thing that pops up between Sweden and Norway. So it's a very tiny country, but we are widely considered to be one of the world's leading countries in climate change action. But what we do in a global setting, like for the climate in general, does not have that much impact because we are that small. So for us, or for Denmark, our climate or journey towards sustainability is to spread the word, share knowledge, and this is the purpose of the ship coming in from a Danish perspective, to start these conversations and have this venue during the Climate Week. And the events happening at the ship will also be connected to the Citizens Sustainability Summit on the Highline Park, which will be from the 19th to the 21st of September. So during the ship's stay, there will be we have invited different companies to use the ship as a platform to have different events. So it will be VIP events, open ship events, and I've put in the dates and times here, and also networking events and receptions. The VIP events, I'll talk into that because it's pretty interesting. We have a very high profile event from a Danish perspective. A lot of ministers, a prime minister, and so on will be in the city because of Climate Week, and they will have an event at the ship. And as you may know, Denmark is a kingdom. So we have a pretty good idea that there will be royalty at this event. We are not sure who yet, that hasn't been confirmed, but that will certainly happen. And the ship is also protected by His Royal Highness Prince Joachim. And he has said about this voyage that Denmark is on, that as a patron of the training ship Denmark, I am most pleased and proud that the training ship Denmark, the symbol of maritime Denmark, aims to join the UNGA and Climate Week New York City 2022. So it's really cool to have this support from the royal family as well. And yeah, we're really excited about this collaboration between the Seaport and Visit Denmark and Martic. And yeah, we think it's going to be really great, and we hope you guys will come on board once the ship is down there. Let's see if I can figure out how to unshare my screen.
Thank you, Mette.
Here
I want to say too, we're still working through some of the events that we'll be hosting on the ship, but we hope to open it up and welcome, the community to many of those events. And as Mette said, there's going to be open ship times where people can come on free of charge and get to interact with the cadets that are living on the ship through the voyage and learn more about the Denmark and its history. So we're very excited, and I think you all have probably seen the barge on the north side of Pier 17 that's wrapping up the infrastructure work that Jonathan mentioned. So we'll be nice and ready for September. And on another maritime note, I suppose, we also wanted to update you on the return of Manhattan by Sail to Pier 17 this summer. It's been away for 9 years, and so they're coming back to the pier. They will be on the east side of Pier 17 with the Clipper City ship. Still working through the exact opening date. As you can imagine, with material shortages and supply chain issues, it's been a little challenging to get that off the ground, but we'll be sharing more updates with you about Manhattan by Sail in the coming weeks. Unless, Tom, is there anything that you want to mention on the call today? I'll take a silence as a no. So we'll be sharing more with you about Manhattan by Sail in the coming weeks.
Okay, is that the presentation? Are you done?
That is everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to a few comments from the committee. I just have a quick one. So you will obviously let the community board know any events that are open to the public where people can board the ship, etc.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see, Morton Minsley.
I just want to just comment as someone as a long resident of Manhattan. I remember when this ship, I believe, came up to 1976 for the bicentennial. They had an Operation Sail.
That's right.
And that was the year I graduated from high school. And I went down to watch the parade of tall ships. And I believe the Denmark was one of those ships. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, just remember, this stirred a
Yeah,
long.
good memory, Morton. Good memory.
Well, it was a big event.
Yes.
And at that time. Okay, I just wanted to bring that up. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Morton. Andrew.
So thanks for that presentation. Jonathan or Ellie, I don't know, have you considered possibly reaching out to the Harbor School on Governor's Island and possibly entertaining the thought of some kind of educational program or event for their student body?
We're in at the museum. We're in regular partnership with the Harbor School. Fun fact, actually, that the Harbor School, which is now on Governor's Island, had its first offices and classrooms at the South Street Seaport Museum and used its vessels to begin that school before they went to Bushwick and then subsequently to Governor's Island. So we're in close contact over long periods of time, and we make them aware of everything. We're active with them. We've got interns working on the waterfront right now from Harbor School. So yes, the answer is yes. I don't have a specific answer in this particular instance, but we will definitely be making the existence of Denmark at Pier 17 available to Harbor School. And that's exactly the right thing to be thinking. I agree with you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments from the committee or any visitors? I don't see any. Thank you all for coming. Oh, I do see someone now. Wendy, just in the nick of time.
Yeah, I just I feel like that I just want to be incredibly enthusiastic about what we just saw. That was really great. And I don't have any specific question or comment, but I just wanted to thank whoever, is trying to put it all together again. So that takes a lot of effort and it's really appreciated. And I just can't wait to go on the ship. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's a wonderful comment, and it's a team sport, right? It's, the New York's waterfront has shrunk. It has gotten smaller in various ways, and access is more and more difficult. So this is an example of an effective partnership between the museum and Howard Hughes. They've got the physical space to be able to do this, because we have one pier that's full of our own vessels. And we've got the relationships internationally over time. Denmark tied up at our piers before that became impractical. So I really appreciate you sort of noticing how challenging this can be, and I really hope this is the first of many.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you again.
Jonathan, are you going to play an ongoing role in trying to attract other vessels to that?
Oh yes, oh yes. I mean, we had the Statsraad Lemkuhl, which is also a Danish ship, and we tried to host her last year. You may have seen her across the river at Brooklyn Bridge Park. I've known every U.S. Coast Guard Bark Eagle captain going back 20 years, and nearly every year I get a call that says, "Can we come into South Street this year?" And every year I have to say no for some practical reason, and they go instead over to the Intrepid, where they're sort of lost in the sea of Midtown height and big aircraft carriers and so on. So yes, enthusiastic, yes, Paul.
Great, good to hear. Morton, did you want to comment again?
Yeah, I do remember, and if my memory serves me correct, after that initial appearance in 1976, they used to have a parade of tall ships. I believe almost every July 4th holiday, and a harbor festival. At that time, later on in the 80s, I was living in Battery Park City in Gateway Plaza, and somehow that stopped after a while. So, if that's something that could continue, it would attract a lot of people downtown for the July 4th holiday. I'm not sure why it stopped, but it's something possibly to consider.
Yeah, well,
and I remember the Denmark being a
that.
beautiful ship. It was a beautiful ship and a beautiful event. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is great to have another docking space and to bring more historic vessels into the seaport area. Going back to your roots, and I'm sure you're very enthused about that, Jonathan. Good luck. And with that, let me thank you all the participants in this very good presentation. We look forward to the boat coming in on September 16th. Thanks again, and you all have a good evening.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, committee.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. All right. Let's continue, committee. I do have a report to give regarding the September 11th Memorial and Museum. As we all know, the committee had a discussion on that at our last meeting. I think Rosa was one of the initiators of this. And the main issue that was raised was to increase the hours of accessibility for the community to get to the site and get to the museum itself. So I'm pleased to report that we did get communications from the September 11th Memorial Museum, and let me just read to you what they sent. We are happy to announce an expansion of our operating hours for both the memorial and museum starting July 13th. As previously discussed, we are still in an austerity mode budget and are still only at 50% visitation compared to 2019 numbers, but have been working to fund an expansion of operating hours. So again, they say, we're pleased to share that the 9/11 Museum and Memorial is expanding its hours of operation effective July 13th. The museum will welcome visitors Wednesday through Mondays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., adding a sixth day to its schedule. Additionally, the memorial will now be accessible daily from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's a good expansion. No institution has been unaffected by the impacts of COVID-19, and as we continue down the road to recovery, we are proud to be able to offer these added opportunities. And in response to a couple of questions, they said the new hours apply 7 days, including Thanksgiving and Christmas and other holidays in between. The chains will be down during the expanded hours as they are for our current operating procedures. The museum will be closed on Thanksgiving and Christmas, but will otherwise stick to the Wednesday through Monday schedule referenced. So I would say we have a lot to be pleased with that response. It's definitely a good step in the right direction. Maybe it's not 100%, but I think it's good that the committee spoke out and was able to get some results for our community. So I know Rosa wants to comment. Go ahead, Rosa.
Hi, thank you so much. So that's awesome news. Thank you for getting that done. I super duper appreciate it. I only have one further request, if possible, which would be that rather than opening up at 9 o'clock, they open up at 8 a.m. And whether that means just moving the hour off of the back end of the day, or whether or not they can add an hour, because in that request, I mean, a lot of it was for, frankly, the people that live and work here, right? And they take that entire mega block off the table to walk through when it's closed. And so, especially for people who commute across that area, and I walk by there 4 times a day, it's incredibly inconvenient when it's chained off. And if we could walk through that space, as most of us are likely to do, in the morning commute, that would be incredibly helpful. So 9 o'clock is not helpful with that. It would be better if it was 8, but I request it with a smile. Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll continue to have conversations with them to see if we could get that done as well. Let's see, any other comments on this issue? Okay, so with that, I'm going to wrap up the meeting, but I do want to have a quick word of thank you to Diana. As most of you know, I think everyone knows, this is her final meeting with our committee. final meeting with any committee, I guess. She's been great.
Before you get into that, can I ask my question because it's not related to that, and I don't want to interrupt it. I want you to be able to take the time and us to really talk about Diane. My question is, I had the opportunity to walk across the Brooklyn Bridge and was very excited when I got home and saw the sign to go downstairs that said Chinatown, and was expecting something else once I got to the bottom of the stairs, and there was absolutely nothing. There wasn't even an arrow to point to go left or right. It was just, you know, above the entranceway, it says to Chinatown, but then when you get down to the bottom of the stairs, there's nothing. So I remember a while ago we had this lovely presentation about some wonderful artwork and other things that were going to happen there. But even until that happens, at least have an arrow pointing to the left, to the right, so that people know when they come down, they come down the stairs, they go to the right to Chinatown. Because right now it's like you come down the stairs and I'm like standing there, it's like, what happened? So if we can have anybody, do we need to get in touch with somebody to tell them they need to put a sign there to say South Street Seaport to your left, Chinatown to your right, so that people have some sense of direction?
Yes, the Park Row Alliance is working on that, as is Brooklyn Bridge, but the community board could certainly also ask, I guess it would probably be DOT to try to do something about that signage. It's not that complicated, just a sign as you
No,
with
something,
arrows saying, they have signs like that elsewhere. So maybe they could do that, and maybe we could even ask a group like the Downtown Alliance, who's done a lot of signs to help visitors. Maybe they could do a special favor and design a sign. But that's just
because right now you got a sign to nowhere. So that's great. All right, that's my comment.
Okay. Did anyone else have their hand up on this? Oh, David.
Yes, I would agree. And it doesn't have to be a state-of-the-art LED animation. It can just be a sign that says this way to Chinatown.
Right now.
This way to the seaport.
Okay, I'm making notes. Thank you. Rosa, you wanted to comment?
Yes, and I would request that in that signage, as we have, proposed, that they basically say how many minutes of walking would be involved. So Chinatown would be to the right, 5 minutes. South Street Seaport would be to the left and then backwards, and that would be 5 minutes. Because when you're there, the space is so discouraging and uninviting, and dark, and sort of looks like a mugging kind of atmosphere that people aren't inclined to actually go down a path that they don't know how long it's going to take to get them to a destination. But if you understand walking 5 minutes, and you're like, oh yeah, I could probably do that without getting mugged, and then you'll get there. And I also wanted to share some really sad news about that stair, because first of all, it's like some weird mint prison green color. They did repaint it, and I appreciate that, but the color is a little unfortunate. They didn't do what's the most important thing, which is actually updating the lighting, because it still looks like a mugging stair and it's still utilized as a urinal. Worst thing is, however, that there was a pile of human excrement sitting on the stair for about 3 weeks that nobody cleaned up. And so when they repainted it, they decided to sadly leave the human excrement on the wall and just paint over it. So it is there forever. And I think that that is sadly the way that is an indication of how much the DOT is caring about doing a good job there. That has now been literally just painted on top of, instead of actually cleaned. So please, whatever we can do to get somebody to actually work on the signage and the maintenance of that space, it's such a critical portal into our city and our neighborhoods, and that they treat it with such disrespect or give it zero attention is just I'll stop here because I get upset about it, but it's just wrong. And that's just literally a perfect example of how much they care. So discouraging. I'll stop now.
Okay.
That is so embarrassing. And I think someone should take this little snippet of recording and play it for the DOT. This Rosa, well, maybe not. I don't want to embarrass you. But
Or
I mean,
maybe someone could
needs
take
to
a
address that.
picture of the sign so we could make sure they know what we're talking about.
I'm talking about the human excrement as well that has been painted over. I mean, that is outrageous. I mean, literally. Can you bring that up with DOT, Paul? Is that something that
Bring what up?
I would be so happy to follow up on this as one of my final.
Yes,
Outfits
Diana.
CB1.
Go, Diana.
I'll
I can
follow up
send
with
you a
DOT,
photo
Paul,
if
and I'll
you would
keep you in the
like.
loop.
Yeah, we'll discuss the details, Diana.
Okay, great. I can't wait.
Morton?
Yes, one thing I want to comment on is having lived in New York all my life and in Manhattan, much of that, New York City and Lower Manhattan is filled with like signs to nowhere, like random signs in the middle of someplace that say point in a direction. Like for example, I noticed just last week, if you go down Center Street by the corner of Center and Chambers Street by the Surrogate Court, there's a sign that says this way to 9A. And if you turn there, I don't think there's any further sign that would direct you to the West Side Highway from that turn. And if you go to other cities, they actually have signs at regular intervals that tell you how to get to someplace. And it may not be as important these days in the days of GPS and navigation system, but some people still follow those signs. And when you talk about the sign that says go to Chinatown down the stairs and then doesn't tell you which way when you get down to the bottom of the stairs, it's indicative of that type of problem that's all over New York City and all over Lower Manhattan. So if you go to I've been in other cities, Baltimore, Chicago, you go there and they say this way to some attraction like the Inner Harbor in Baltimore, and it goes step by step by step. You can literally follow the signs to the destination, and you don't see that in New York. It'd be great if that were done, if it were possible.
Well, these are indeed the types of issues that community boards work on, and we've had success on many of them. So let's see if we could do it on this sign. Okay. By the way, do we have any other old or new business to go over before we say goodbye to Diana?
Sorry, this is Rosa. Just to follow up on the whole 9/11 memorial access thing, we had talked about the privatization of public space as something that we wanted to follow up with generally throughout the city. And I would love it if we could actually take that up at some point.
Yeah, I need to also discuss that as to whether our committee can comment on some of these spaces that fall within the jurisdiction of other committees, such as, pop spaces and some of these plazas, etc. So that's one of the complications in bringing up a resolution on that. But let me pursue it, and I will.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Let me just continue and then I'll just turn it over to others. Just personally speaking, Diana has been great to work with, and she's just been such a great asset to our community board, unbelievably. She's been the staff liaison for our committee, and I found her to be reliable. She handles most of the interaction between this committee and a range of agencies, organizations we work with. She wrote most of our resolutions, and she's just a real professional and a pleasure to work with. But after 10 years, she's ready to look at other opportunities and horizons, and she deserves that opportunity. But I just want to say that I and others wish her everything good to happen in the future. I'm sure I speak for all of us in saying we will miss you, but wish you lots of luck moving forward. And thank you, thank you, thank you for everything you've done. Thank you, Diana.
That's so kind, Paul. Thank you so much. I take this work really personally and am kind of shuffling my feet out the door. I'm extremely sentimental. I'm so connected to this kind of work, and I've loved working with all of you and gotten the chance to really dig my heels in and work on it for a serious amount of time. And I'm so grateful that I'll be able to continue working on Lower Manhattan projects. And I hope that you will see me all the time so I can see you all the time.
Yes, looking forward to that. Okay. Thank you again. I see a lot of people are just saying they agree and their hearts are broken, but I'm sure you'll, like it or not, hear a little more of this at the full board meeting next week. Your last day is next week.
Yes, it's next Wednesday.
Okay. Well, all the luck in the world to you. Thank you. I know a little bit about a lot of people who've worked for the community board, and you rank at the very top of that list.
That's quite an endorsement, Paul. Thank you.
Well, I mean it. Okay. Committee, with that, I am done with my remarks. I guess we can now move to adjourn. I want to thank you all, and we'll see you maybe at the full board meeting next week. Have a good night.
Bye-bye, baby. Remember, you're my baby.
We'll miss you,
you.
Diana. We'll miss
Bye,
you so much.
Diana. We'll miss
Bye, everyone.
you.
Good night, all. Good night.